next thing I would take a look at most definitely is the Operation Overlord expansion. The reason is because Operation Overlord takes a 2-player game and rackets it up to 8 players maximum. You actually have team rules when you play Operation Overlord, where you have 3 field commanders and 1 battlefield commander, and then you have on both sides, rather. So you have teams of 4 going up against each other on maps that are the size of 2 of the base boards. So that is the one caveat. In order to play Operation Overlord, you do have to have either 2 base set boards or one of the Operation Overlord map sets that have come out. As we begin talking about Operation Overlord, I did want to mention I'm not talking about the original supplement that came. The Overlord supplement was actually a free downloadable file that you could get from Days of Wonder that would help you start playing Overlord scenarios if you had 2 base games. What they have done with Operation Overlord is they have taken and given you enough token counters to augment your single base game, if you have that, so that you can play Overlord scenarios on one of the maps that are pre-made. Of course, you'd have to buy those, but this is also going to give you a deck of cards that are specifically for Overlord scenario play, and then it's also going to give you some more dice to go along with it. Let's take a look. All right, now this is a pictorial representation, I guess you could say, of what you're going to get inside the Operation Overlord expansion for Memoir 44. First of all, you're going to get all of these tokens. There are 170 tokens. There are Japanese and German. You have Japanese on one side, German is on the other, and then you have Russian American. American on one side, Russian on the other. And here's what each of them look like there specifically as far as tank units, artillery units, and then infantry units. Then you're also going to be getting 2 identical decks of cards. Each one of those decks of cards come with 40 section cards, 20 tactic cards, and 2 air sortie cards. Play is conducted almost identically to base game scenarios, except for there are certain rules that have to apply. And one of the first things that helps out with this expansion is the deck of cards. The deck of cards actually helps you in determining where to play your cards. So let's look at those decks. The specialized deck that comes with Operation Overlord is actually pretty helpful in the playing of Operation Overlord. First of all, as you can see, up in the top left and right hand corners of the card, it actually tells you specifically what field general is able to receive this card. For example, here, only the left flank can receive it. This is a card, a tactic card, that the Commander-in-Chief only can play. He cannot give this out to any of his field commanders. The Commander-in-Chief has to play that card. Then you'll see here that this probe can only be given to the field commander in the right flank, and then he can order 2 units. That's what that number there talks about. So the number and the arrow are very specific. The bottom part of the card is just something that can be read to further understand what the field commander is going to be able to do. Order 2 units on the right in one section or the other. That's another thing you have to keep in mind with Operation Overlord, and that is you're actually going to have 2 right flank fields, 2 center fields, and then 2 left flank fields. So keep that in mind as we go on, and each card will say one or the other. If it's specific, it'll also say that. Some arrows point in multiple directions, like this tactic card here, Medics and Mechanics. What this means is that any of the field commanders can be given this card by the Commander-in-Chief. It's not specific. The Commander-in-Chief chooses. There's also arrows that have a letter in them. For example, the Assault card. The Assault card has Only the field commander that is on the left flank can receive this card, and he can order all units in either of his sections. This deck of cards is specific. First of all, the upside of the deck is different. It looks completely different. It has the Overlord symbol on it, so that you can definitely tell it apart from the other command cards that are already existing in your base set. As we continue talking about the Overlord expansion for Memoir 44, I just wanted to give you an idea of just how big some of the Memoir 44 Overlord expansions can be. Here in front of you right now is just a normal base set board set up in the middle. It doesn't have anything on it. I'm just trying to show you size comparison. And then on top of that, what I would like to show you is the pre-constructed map which is called Hedgerow Hell, which is made for the Overlord scenario. And as you can see, quite the difference. It barely fits on my table. So the reason I wanted to let you know about this is because it does have a large footprint, so to speak, as far as how much room you're going to be able to have in order to play Operation Overlord. This is not just a two-player game. There is a definite space requirement that comes along with playing Operation Overlord. But one of the things that I also wanted to focus on here was the actual maps themselves, because as you can first of all see, it has all of the terrain already pre-printed on them. Now, if you're going to be playing some of the scenarios that just require the two base boards, you're going to have to set up the terrain by yourself. But it's not that huge of a deal, especially if you're planning this as a day event where you're having your buddies come over for the day. And you're not really worried about time. This is more of an event than or an activity than just a singular game. But as you can see there are a lot of different terrain tiles that are already on the board. And then on top of that, it also comes pre-printed on the map what unit goes where, any kind of special enhancement that like right here, these three spaces are going to get sandbags. This is a victory point condition for either Germans or Americans to hold this town and village. So again, these are all things that are going to help you play the game a little bit quicker. You're not taking time to set up all of this terrain. I mean, if you look at all of the different terrain that would be out there, all of those rivers and towns and roads and different things, that's things that you would normally have to be setting up. Here, it's already printed out for you. And again, this is the Hedgerow Hell scenario for the Overlord expansion. Another thing that I wanted to show you here along this side of the board is that all of those terrain cards from the base game and any other terrain card that might be applying here for this scenario are already printed on the board for you. So again, these are really user-friendly maps. Did I mention that these maps are double-sided? I don't think I did tell you that, but hey, look, I just showed you. If you do not have those pre-printed maps, you would have to play Overlord with two base maps that come with your base set of Memoir 44. And again, it's still divided up into 6 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The center line where the two boards actually come apart is your actual divider between the two center sections, your two right flanks, and your two left flanks. So this is functional, it works, but the pre-printed maps are so much cooler. And then on top of that, you don't have to take the additional time to set up all of that terrain. So that's really about it. I really do think that Operation Overlord would be a valuable addition to any person's Memoir 44 collection, because it does capture the grandeur of some of those larger battles. I mean, when you have you and 7 other guys around, or ladies, around a table playing a huge, sprawling battle. I mean, you saw the size of those maps. it really does capture the feel of being part of something much, much larger than just some of those smaller skirmishes. But really, we don't want to downplay any of those smaller skirmishes. All of those battles were important in one way or another. There are other maps that have been made that go along with the Overlord scenario. I didn't look at them today. I just showed you Hedgerow Hell and the cadets on the other side of Hedgerow Hell. There are, I have at least 2 other ones. There are, I believe, 3 other maps that are out there. I don't have one of them. So I'll be able to show you Tigers in the Snow is one of them, and then Operation Market Garden. I'll show you that in another video, though, because I'm going to go over Tigers in the Snow a little bit more in depth. So with that, see you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.